Miss Craftslots Lair. This is going to be a voiceover video because at the time of filming this, I had allergies and my voice decided to leave. And before you, I have fabric in wine white and a wine print. I also have interfacing that I got from a Joann store that was closing years ago. A zipper that is too long, and notions that I got from that last trip to Hobby Lobby. So, from the wine printed fabric, this is 100% cotton that I got at Walmart. I am cutting a piece that is 9.5 by 10.5. So the reason why I am doing this is I am making a purse for the wine walk in a neighboring city to mine. And I thought it would be really awesome to have a new purse. My old crossbody was kind of falling apart. So I figured, hey, this year I'll make myself a new crossbody for the wine walk and it will be wine themed. Fun fact, Wine Walk is actually the next day from when I am filming this. On to the wine colored fabric. This is going to be for the back of the purse, which is going to be cut the same size as the wine fabric was for the front of the purse. And to give you a little story about this wine colored fabric, when I went to the store, I was fully intending on getting 100% cotton in this color. I grabbed two fabrics that were roughly about the same color, and the one that I ended up bringing home was actually poly cotton. So this is going to be a little bit of a test. And then I went ahead and cut a 2-inch strip here. I am going to be cutting this down to 2 by 3 inch pieces for the zipper tabs. I also need two of the 2-inch by 5-inch strips that I needed for the D rings, but for some reason I don't have that footage anymore. And the last things I'm going to be cutting from the wine fabric are two strips that are 4 inches by 37 inches. These two strips are going to be the crossbody strap that I am going to be sewing in a bias tape system or method later on here for the strap. Final fabric will be the white fabric. This is going to be used for the lining. So I am actually going to be cutting this a 1/2 inch smaller. So it is going to be 9 inches even by 10 inches even. And that is going to get a lining that doesn't pucker or isn't an odd poofiness in the bottom. Obviously, I need to get a new rotary cutter blade, or I just decided not to cut it all the way, but bring in the zebra scissors to the rescue. Now, I know I had said earlier that I got this interfacing from a Joann's that was closing. Thinking back on it, that is incorrect. I want to say that probably picked up this interfacing back in Black Friday of either 2017 or 2018, and it has been sitting in my stash for that long. So I figured that now is a perfect time to use it because I needed interfacing for this purse. So I am unsure if this is actually the correct interfacing for this project, but it's interfacing nonetheless, so I'll use it. Of course, this is interfacing for the front panel and back panel to the purse. So I am going to be cutting it at 9.5 by 10.5 inches. I also need to cut interfacing for the straps. So that will be 2 inches wide, as well as I also need the D-ring strap interfacing cut as well. Now, the final cutting part on these is that I do need to, on the lining and on the outside panels of the purse, back and front, I also need to cut 1.5 inch squares off of the bottom of the corners of each. This part was a little bit tricky for me because if you've ever worked with a rotary cutter, you know how sharp they are. So you definitely do not want to be cutting towards yourself when you're making these cuts. Also, in order to keep from over cutting, I did not cut all the way and then ended up having to use my zebra scissors in order to get those corners completely cut. Now, if you are currently yelling at me because I have not put the interfacing on the front or back outside panels to this purse, you would be correct. I will say this: do as I say, not as I do. You definitely, this would have been a lot easier on me had I had ironed the interfacing onto these two pieces before I cut out the corner pieces for the bottom. In hindsight, this that was my mistake. And it was at this moment that she realized her mistake. So again, yeah. Now it is on to elongating the fabric for the strap. I am using the bias tape connection kind of method. Um, that's the best way I can describe it. So, if you are interested, I did go into how to do this in a previous video, but I really didn't go into depth about it. So, if you are wanting more of a tutorial on how to do this, just let me know and I will work on getting that made. So, I have this is the strap fabric. I had it folded in half and then I pressed it with the raw edges to that seam line or that press line to kind of give it a gatefold card kind of look, for lack of better terms. And then I am going to insert and iron in the interfacing. And then I am going to go ahead and iron it again. So therefore it is folded over back on that first ironed seam. So then that way I have a strap that is roughly about an inch wide. It's going to have 4 total layers of fabric plus the 2 layers of interfacing in there, but most machines will be able to handle that. At least my two brothers can. I'm also going to be pressing the D-ring strap as well as the zipper tabs. And the fun part, time to sew. So here is the D-ring getting sewn on. D-ring being sewn into place on the front of the bag. The zipper tab getting hemmed. Next was shortening up the zipper a bit. So I sewed across the open end of the zipper to get that all in place. Sewed on the zipper tab. And then it is to shorten the zipper. If you need a tutorial on how to do this or how I do this, just let me know in the comments and I will get that up as soon as possible. Then it was time for me to sew the actual zipper onto the front and the lining. And then I do the same thing to the back and the back lining. When the zipper was put in and all done, I opened the zipper and then I sewed along the bottom of the lining to sew the lining together, left a hole so that I could turn the purse right side out when I was done. I also missed the corner pieces, but I went around the entire bag with the linings facing each other and the outside pieces facing each other. And I should also remind you that now is the time to make sure that that D-ring is tucked up in there. So then that way when you are done with your purse and you turn it right side out, you have a place to hook your strap to because that's why it's there. And when you've gone around all that purse, then you're going to fold those corners in on themselves. And this will give you that nice little boxy corner look. And you do that with both corners for the outer part of the bag and both corners for the lining of the bag. Now, if this was a purse that I was going to be selling, I would go in and hand sew the hole once I turned the purse right side out, um, the hole in the lining that is. However, this is a for me purse, and it was getting really late, and I had to wake up early in the morning to get to the wine walk, and so I just machine sewed across the lining. I know it was a short. So that just leaves me with finishing up the strap. So I am going to sew on each end. I'm going to kind of tuck that in. It's going to be a lot. I have to kind of baby my machine to get this part done, but sewing the length of the strap is a breeze. When I get down to the other end, I will treat the other end the same way, baby my machine, sweet talk it, and get that one machine sewn so in that way it is holding steady. Then I'm going to put the adjuster on and sew that on, and then go ahead and put the two buckles on, or clasps on. And here it is. I am so happy with how this purse turned out. I am planning on making quite a few more. And yeah, so I hope you liked this. And if you did, please like, share, and subscribe.